And then without in addition, no, if there will be lack of information, lack of market information, it could be that farmers are growing the wrong product for the market. They might not be market oriented. And remember, if people or farmers, if they are not market oriented, they cannot, if there is a mismatch of the demand and supply, they cannot command for a higher price for their product. Hence, it can reduce their profitability. Then, farmers' lack of marketing skills. So, marketing skills, not really about advertising and promotion, but marketing skills like the processes that I mentioned in the previous chapter, like grading, sorting, cleaning, and some other processes. And remember, those activities, though those are just very simple activities, those are already value-adding activities. Value-adding activities. Very common example. If tabangan ninyo inyong parents nga mag-market sa sa merkado every Sunday or during Tabo days. Diba? If you can see, ala kana kailang utan no kanang dili mahurot unsa kailang buhaton. Labaw na considering that agricultural commodities are very perishable. So one value adding thing that what they are doing is kanang they chop the mga gulay and then himuong sari, no, gina-combine and then they sell it. So asang value added ana? Value added siya, it's because si buyer, si consumer dili na siya mag-slice, di na siya mag-effort og slice, higi-slice na siya og gi-sort na siya daan ni seller. So kato siya maka-demand na siya og mas taas nga presyo ato. So that is an example of a marketing skill. So those simple processes that could already add value in the product and could already increase their profitability somehow. And to increase their income and capture more of the value, or that is what we call as the economic rent. Like atong akong example nga giingon, itong slicing of the gulay and himo na siyang sari para diretso na siya lunod, dili na maglisod og prepare si consumer. That is already adding value, and then we increase the economic rent. Pila ra unta tong presyo sa gulay, and then imurang gi-slice, imurang gibutang sa cellophane, and then it can command already for a higher price. So na-increase nimo iyahang value, na-increase nimo ang profitability. So ni-increase niya to ang economic rent of that particular commodity. Okay, another example. Labaw na kading sa mga terminal. If you can notice, example, panahon sa baongon, daghan og baongon. Of course, si traveler gusto mo kaon og baongon, but then it will be very hard for him or her to eat baongon inside the bus nga magpanit considering nga gahi kaayo, no? Gahi kayo ang baongon ablihan. So kinahanglan pa ka og knife and some other stuffs. But then one value adding activity that we can do to that is, ikaw ang seller, panitidaan ng baongon. It can serve to function. First, makita niya ni potential buyer ang freshness sa product na imong gibaligya. Another thing that the value added dito is dili na maghago si customer og panit, di na magkagidlay og pinanitay sa baongon para lang makakaon og baongon, no? Kay napanitan naman siya daan. So in that sense, kung ang katong baongon kung raw pa siya, mabaligya ang tatog 20, pero imong gipanitan pwede nimong baligya og 25 30. So by simply pagpanit lang, na increase mo economic rent, naka-gain na ka og 5-10 pesos ng additional income. So those are the reasons why we need to study value chain, so that we can understand where we can integrate or how can we penetrate in the supply chain and participate, no, and add value to the commodity, and of course for an ultimate goal of satisfying the needs of our customers. So, benefits of analyzing the value chain. Actually, ako naman yung discuss sa inyo. Dugang na lang ni sila. First is identifying new income-generating opportunities. Like what I have mentioned, through studying the supply chain, we will be able to pinpoint where we can penetrate in the supply chain. What activity that we can conduct to add value to the product, in what particular activity or what particular function that we can enter so that we can help in facilitating the movement of the product from one point to another. So it's an opportunity seeking activity, no? Nga asa ta pwede mosulod, asa ta pwede maka-participate so that we can satisfy the customer, we can help in aiding the flow of the product faster. Then another thing is to attract young people to farming. No, in our first chapter we discussed that in 2012 the average age of farmers is already about 58 years old. And agriculture, except for CMU, for other higher educational institutions offering BS agriculture, their enrollment is declining. But in the case of CMU, we have increasing level of enrollment for BS agriculture. But in the general trend in the country, it is declining, and that is very alarming since there are only few youth who are interested in 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 entering the agriculture industry. No, so by divulging all these activities, all these things, somehow it can attract you and other individuals to go into farming because there is money in farming. And of course, analyzing the value chain can help learn new skills and improve practices. Okay, so now let's try to discuss the elements of the supply chain management. Actually, in the early slides, I already mentioned these things, but we will deal with them individually. So first is we have the customers. So for an effective and efficient supply chain, it is very important to determine what the customer wants. So balik gyapon ta with market orientation, that we need to identify their wants, their needs, so that we can provide what they need. No, if there is market orientation, then there is a sure market for our product. And in supply chain, that is the very baseline. That is the very baseline. The identification of the needs and wants of the customer so that we can respond, we can produce what they need, what they want, and if ever there are changes in the preferences, then somehow we can quickly respond to those changes. Then we have here forecasting. So as I've mentioned earlier, that there should be proper forecasting. We need reliable data so that we could have a better forecast, for the demand, for the supply, and some other needed information. The design of the product that is based on the needs of the customer, performing the processing. No, this processing element is consider there should be a strategic work schedule in processing, especially if your business is about manufacturing of agricultural commodities. So there should be a strategic work schedule. No, if you can notice kung naamoy parents nga agatrabaho sa pineapple plantation, na amoy kapamilya nga nagtrabaho og banana plantation, if you can notice, there are times nga mag-overtime sila, na ay times nga weekend na sila'y duty, ug naapoy times nga wala sila'y duty. That is already designed by the management nga para dili madaot ilang mga produkto. If they can forecast already that in this particular day there is very high volume of harvest, so dapat daghantag ma-process, so they will require their people to render overtime. And if in this particular day, if wala kay tayo harvest, wala sa tayo operation kay kung wala, if taas ang idle time, meaning wala kay ginatrabaho ang mga empleyado kay wala kayo harvest kan sihon pod ang company. So there should be a strategic work schedule, no? And then another thing that we have to consider in processing is the quality and to avoid wastage. And next is inventory. Inventory. This is one thing that we have to consider. Ingon ani man gud ni siya, class. If we're going to keep a high level of inventory, if we're going to stock a high level of inventory, so wala tay problema nga ma-shorta kaya daghan man tag stock. But then the problem is it will increase our carrying cost. Of course, we will be needing space, bodega for our stocks, and then cost. What if na pilferage, kawat, if there will be damage, na mga kikaunan sa ilaga, and some other potential damages that it can cause to your stocks is part of the carrying cost. So that is one risk if we're going to keep a high level of inventory. And if we're going to keep a low level of inventory, that will be also very risky. In the sense that what if taas ang order, and then kulang tag supply, so maproblema ta, mangita na tag supply, and sige tag palit, it can increase our ordering cost that will cover that transportation cost. So in inventory, this is an important element in supply chain, wherein as part of the management, you have to decide what is the optimal level of inventory to keep. No, you have to think about that one. You have to decide about that one to keep the right amount of inventory that could bring the maximum benefit for the organization or for the business. Next is purchasing. So in purchasing, so proper schedule of purchasing, because wala kay precise schedule, it can increase your cost in transportation. Finding the right suppliers, akong giingon, deciding whether you are going to go with multiple supplier or you are going to deal or stick with a single supplier. Both situation has pros and cons. It has advantages and disadvantages, and as part of the management, you have to analyze the actual situation, and then decide what's the best for the organization. And then for the location, it should be strategic. It means it should be near to the source of the supply, and it should be near to the market. Again, we are trying to avoid or to reduce our cost for transportation. And decision about logistics, deciding on what is the best means to deliver the product, what will be the best channel, the most appropriate channel that we're going to adopt to be able to deliver the commodities to the consumers. So those are the things that we have to look into. Okay. Characteristics of the agribusiness value chain. So first is volatility. Volatility. I have mentioned this one in the early slides. Again, tastes and preferences are changing. The current landscape is changing. Remember, the farmlands before are now subdivisions. Gimo ng subdivision ni Cynthia Villar. No, joke lang. And many farmlands were now transformed into subdivision and some other industrial sites. So, considering pa the climate change. So, daghan gi factors that affects the production of agricultural commodities, and then the tastes and preferences are changing, and that makes supply chain management very challenging because of volatility. Changes are 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 present from time to time, and it's very complex. There are many participants in a particular value chain for a particular commodity. There are many participants, there are many activities, functions that are being conducted, and it needs to be managed. And another characteristic is scrutiny. People nowadays are very curious ug asa ni gikan ang ilang ginakaon. There should be traceability of the product that they consume. Well, in fact, in some other countries like Japan, the pineapple that we export to other countries like in Japan, it is well traced. Like kini nga pineapple, the companies like Del Monte has this system, no, they really mark, no, na sa gamay nga papel or sa packaging material. They really have a system of tracing the source of the product. Makita og kana dito, maglaray na sa Japan tanang mga pinya, makita na dito ang information nga kanus siya gi-manufacture, kanus siya gi-pack, og asa siya nga field gikan, no? Kay dali, ang mga tao na mga is concerned with the traceability of the product. So that is one characteristic of agribusiness value chain, no, the scrutiny of the people of where these products came from, asa sila niagi, kanus ani siya ma-expire, kanus ani siya gi-process, and so on and so forth. So the common denominator there is for the concern of food safety, no, food safety of the consumers. So this supply chain, there are also some measures for supply chain performance. So makita man gud nato nga in every participants, kinsa ang mas bulahan, kinsa ang mas agrabyado within the supply chain. So we have measures. First measure is we have this reliability. In every chain, reliability is being measured in terms of the time delivery. How fast, what is the lead time, how prompt is the delivery of the product, the order fulfillment, paspas ba? It also includes the fill rate. If 200 ka pineapples ang gi-order, 200 ba ang na-deliver? Okay, it may be kulang. So that is something about reliability. Those things. So those kato ko mga mention are under reliability. We can measure performance in terms of reliability. Then another measurement is flexibility. So flexibility, this also includes lead time, the response time from the time you order till the time the order was delivered. It also includes the flexibility of the delivery and flexibility in terms of the changing preference of the consumers. But most of the time, supply chain is being measured through expenses of the cost, no? Expenses, and at the same time i-apila na pud nako ang profit. So example, from farmer gipalit ni trader, pila ginansya ni farmer. Si trader gibaligya niya kang food manufacturer, pila ginansya ni trader. Si food manufacturer naghimo siya process, gibaligya niya kang wholesaler, pila ginansya ni food manufacturer. Si retailer or wholesaler gibaligya niya kang customer, pila ang ginansya ni wholesaler retailer. So kung kinsa to ang pinakadako o ginansya, of course siya ang makaingon tag supply chain leader or supply chain winner. So ingon ana ba, and then ang ato mang goal why we have this supply chain management nga tanang participants sa supply chain is dili unta maglagyo ang ilahang ginansya, nga tanan maka benepisyo, tanan maka ginansya across the supply chain. Kanang dili lang bitaw nga isa lang ka institution ang makaginansya, ingon ana. Okay, and in terms of assets and utilization. So let's try to go over with the different supply chain participants. So I hope at this point we are already in the middle. We are already in the middle. I hope that you already naklaro na nato kung unsa ang supply chain and supply chain management, value chain and value chain management. So let's try to go over with the different participants in the supply chain. So first is we have the input companies. So basically these input companies, there are those companies who are selling or producing products that are being used within the supply chain. Maybe inputs used by farmers, inputs used by food manufacturers, inputs used by wholesalers. So they are playing an important role in the whole supply chain. And these input companies are being pressured. They are being pressured to reinvent, to produce something new. No, if you can observe for planting for seeds, no, for seeds like for corn seeds, from time to time walay tuig nga walay bagong variety nga ma-offer si Pioneer and some other seed companies. These companies are trying to innovate and improve from time to time, considering the market that there are tastes and preferences are changing, the geographical landscape, the physical condition are changing. So like sigig baha, so they have to develop flood resistant na variety, no? Gakusog na ang hangin karon, napalit kasi ang mga atik, no? Mga ingon ana, so they have to develop nga mga mugbo nga mga variety nga mga mais para dili mahapay, matumba og dali. So ingon ana ba, so they are also pressured to innovate, to improve, to offer products which are addressing the current situation, no? Yun ana. We also have the farmers. So it is considered that farming is the most risky activity in the value chain. That is very true. We are faced with the vagaries of nature. We talked a lot about that one in the previous chapters. And farming is subject as it is to the vagaries of weather and market volatility. Nag-produce ka karon pag-harvest dili inday mo ang gikinahanglan sa market. Pareha gud anang niabot na daw ang mga bakuna, pero ang problema wan may COVID. Nabala ako nakita sa TikTok earlier. So examples like those. So farmers are faced with high level of risk. No? There are luya to mga farmers, especially if matimingan og mga baha, buhawi, mga hapay ang mga humay, and all those vagaries of nature. And however, in good years, it also potentially to most profitable. But then, katong mga dili musuko, laban lang ng laban, of course, they end up victorious. No, so na yung mga crush diha, gamay pang effort. So, basin di ay, no? Magpasko nga happy. Okay. So if next is we have the traders. So the middlemen. So I think they occupy a large space in the supply chain. Traders in the form of traders, assemblers, consolidators, in forms of wholesalers, retailers. Ang ina na ba? So they occupy a large number or a large space in the whole supply chain. Traders occupy a pivotal position in the agribusiness value chain, and to some extent, their performance can be seen as an indicative of the sector as a whole. And traders would play a vital role in facilitating change in the product value. So their main function is the movement of the product from one point to another. No, they facilitate the delivery or the movement of the product from one institution to another for the reason nga to make the products available. And we cannot deny that the role of the traders is very necessary and very important. Here, number 4, we have also the food companies. Okay, if you reach watching this video, kindly message me in the messenger. Message me og Merry Christmas, Master, with then exclamation point and a green heart. Okay, and once you do that, then surprise will follow. Okay, let's have food companies. So much of the value added in the food chain happens in this stage, and margins are commonly in the range of 10 to 20%. Most of the time, value adding is being conducted by food companies. No, they're performing this very important function. And within the food processing sector, there are several distinct subsectors, each of its own characteristics. For example, meat, dairy, beverages, sugar, snacks, and food services, up to the milk tea nga inyuhang gina-enjoy. It is being performed by food companies. So you are enjoying all those stuffs. It brings you academic peace of mind, and so on and so forth because of these food companies. They're part of the supply chain, and they're performing an important role in the value chain, no, in adding value to the commodities to make you as consumers satisfied and happy, of course. Within the food processing sector, there's, ako na yung nabasa, no? Ako na yung nabasa, wala pa. Within the food processing sector, there are several distinct subsectors, each within its own characteristics. For example, ako na yung nabasa, companies can vary from size from large multinational, several of which employ over 100,000 people, some of which can trace their origin in the 19th century to SMEs. So not only the large companies, but even small and micro enterprises, food companies are adding value on these products.